Welcome to Heaven Backed, where faith meets motivation, and every struggle becomes a step towards strength. Chosen One, you were told to watch alone. For a reason, Chosen One, stop everything. Right now, stop scrolling, stop the multitasking, stop splitting your attention between this and anything else. Listen to me carefully, because what I'm about to say is not just words. It's a message for your heart, a whisper from heaven to your spirit. You may be standing at a place of uncertainty, tired from waiting and wondering if the breakthrough you've been praying for will ever arrive. You may feel overlooked, delayed, or even forgotten, as if the world has moved on while you've been stuck in the shadows. But hear this: nothing is wasted in God's hands. Every tear you've shed, every sleepless night, every prayer whispered in secret, and every moment of doubt has been part of a divine design preparing you for a moment far greater than you can yet imagine. There is a stirring inside you right now, a trembling, a pulling, a knowing that something is about to shift. It's not fear, it's not coincidence. It's the Spirit of God telling you that your waiting is ending, that your obedience is being rewarded, and that your final step is the threshold to a life you've been destined for since before the foundations of the earth. I know it's been hard. I know it's been lonely. I know you've asked, why me? Why now? Why not sooner? And I know your heart has ached with longing for the fulfillment of promises that feel delayed. But let me assure you, God has not forgotten. God has not overlooked you. God has not miscalculated your timing. What is coming is more powerful than the struggles you've endured, more beautiful than the prayers you've whispered, and more overwhelming than the dreams you've dared to imagine. This is your moment to stand still in faith, to breathe in hope, and to open your heart to the miraculous. Because, Chosen One, you have no idea what's coming next, and it will change everything. That's confirmation that heaven has been leaning in closer than you realized. You thought you were holding on to God, but the truth is, He's been holding on to you. Isaiah 4:1-10 says, "Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." That means even in the moments you felt like you were slipping, you were still secured. You didn't survive by accident. There were nights you cried yourself to sleep and woke up pretending to be strong. There were mornings you looked in the mirror and barely recognized the person staring back at you. You questioned your worth. You questioned your timing. You even questioned whether you heard God correctly in the first place. But even in your doubt, you didn't walk away. And that is evidence of grace. Peter doubted. Thomas doubted. Even Elijah, after calling down fire from heaven, found himself under a tree asking God to take his life. But God didn't disqualify them because of their exhaustion. He restored them. Sometimes the most spiritual thing you can admit is that you're tired, but tired doesn't mean finish. Jesus himself sat at a well in John 4 because he was weary from the journey. The Son of God experienced physical exhaustion, yet in that very place of weariness, he had a divine appointment with a Samaritan woman that changed her life forever. Don't miss this. Your exhaustion does not cancel your assignment. Sometimes it positions you for it. You thought the fatigue meant you were failing, but maybe it means you've been fighting harder than you realized. Maybe it means you've been carrying more than you were meant to carry alone. That's why this next season won't just be about elevation. It will be about alignment. God is not just lifting you higher, He's bringing you closer to His original design for you. Jeremiah 1:5 says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." You were set apart before you ever set goals, before you ever made mistakes, before you ever proved yourself to anyone. Your identity was never meant to be earned. It was given. And the enemy has spent years trying to convince you otherwise. He whispered that you were behind. He whispered that you were too late. He whispered that others were more qualified, more gifted, more favored. but comparison is a thief of calling. David's armor didn't fit Saul, and what fits someone else will suffocate you. The reason certain paths didn't work for you is because they weren't tailored to your assignment. God doesn't mass-produce destinies. He crafts them, which means the pace of your journey is intentional. You see people announcing engagements, launching businesses, stepping into platforms, and you wonder when your announcement will come. But what if your silence has been sacred? What if your hidden years have been holy ground? Moses spent 40 years in the desert before leading Israel out of bondage. 40 years of what looked like obscurity. 40 years of sheep and sand and solitude. But that desert taught him humility. It taught him dependence. It taught him how to hear God's voice in a burning bush. Without the desert, he wouldn't have recognized the fire. Without the waiting, you wouldn't recognize the door. There are blessings coming that would have crushed the version of you from 3 years ago. There are opportunities coming that would have inflated your ego 5 years ago. There are relationships coming that require the emotional maturity you're only now developing. So when you look back and ask, why not sooner? Heaven will answer, because you weren't ready to sustain it. And sustainability matters more than speed. The world celebrates quick success. God builds lasting impact. You are not being rushed because you are being rooted. Colossians 2:7 says, "Let your roots grow down into him, and let your lives be built on him." Roots grow in darkness. No applause, no spotlight, just steady development beneath the surface. You've been in root season, deepening your prayer life, learning to forgive, learning to let go, learning to trust even when outcomes are unclear. That's not small, that's foundational. And foundations determine how high something can go without collapsing. You're about to step into rooms that require spiritual weight, conversations that require discernment, influence that requires integrity. That doesn't come from hype, that comes from history with God. And you have history. You remember when he brought you out before. You remember the bills that got paid when the numbers didn't add up. You remember the peace that flooded your heart when anxiety tried to choke you. You remember the unexpected provision, the divine protection, the doors that opened at the last second. That wasn't luck. That was faithfulness. Hebrews 10:23 says, "He who promised is faithful. Not he who promised is fast, faithful." Faithfulness means consistent, reliable, unchanging. God's character has not shifted just because your circumstances did. So what's coming next is not random. It is response. Response to your obedience. Response to your endurance. Response to your tears that fell in private. Psalm 56:8 says that God collects your tears in a bottle. Think about that. The creator of the universe values your pain enough to record it. You are not invisible, and you are not overlooked. This final step you're in feels like tension, like something is stretching inside you, like old doors are closing, but new ones haven't fully opened yet. That space in between can feel unbearable, but in between seasons are birthing seasons. There's a reason labor is intense right before delivery. Pressure increases before promise manifests. The enemy senses movement. That's why attacks sometimes intensify right before breakthrough. But greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. You are not fighting alone. Angels are assigned. Grace is supplied. Strength is renewed. Isaiah 40:31 says, "Those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles." Waiting is not passive. It is active trust. It is choosing belief over panic. It is choosing worship over worry. And you've been waiting, not perfectly, but faithfully, and heaven honors faithful. The next shift in your life will feel both surprising and familiar. Surprising because it comes suddenly. Familiar because your spirit has sensed it for a while. You've had glimpses, dreams, quiet confirmations. Moments in prayer where something stirred deep inside you and you couldn't explain it. That's alignment approaching. You're not crazy for believing something bigger is ahead. You're not arrogant for sensing purpose on your life. You're responding to a divine imprint. Ephesians 2:10 says, "For we are God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." Prepared in advance. That means before this year began, your steps were known. Before the disappointment hit, the solution existed. Before the door closed, another was designed. God does not react to your life. He orchestrates it. So when this next chapter unfolds, don't shrink back in disbelief. Don't sabotage it because it feels unfamiliar. Don't question whether you deserve it. Step into it with humility, with gratitude, with courage, because this is the moment your past pain intersects with future purpose. And when it does, you will realize that nothing was wasted. Not the heartbreak, not the betrayal, not the lonely nights, not the seasons of feeling misunderstood. It all shaped you. You walk with a different authority now, a quiet confidence. Not loud, not boastful, just steady. That's what refining does. The old you would have chased validation. The new you values obedience. The old you would have panicked. The new you prays. The old you would have forced doors. The new you waits for God to open them. That's maturity. And maturity precedes multiplication. Get ready for increase. Not just financially, but spiritually, emotionally, relationally. You're stepping into clarity. Clarity about who you are. Clarity about who you're not. Clarity about what you will tolerate and what you won't. Boundaries are forming. Vision is sharpening. And when vision sharpens, distraction loses power. You don't have time for what drains you anymore. You don't have energy for what diminishes you. You've learned the cost of misalignment. This final step is stripping away every last weight that can't go where you are going. Hebrews 12:1 says, "Let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles." Not just sin, everything that hinders. Some things aren't evil. They're just heavy, and you can't run freely while carrying unnecessary weight. So let it fall. Let the old identity fall. Let the old fear fall. Let the old narrative fall. Because what's coming next requires freedom, and you are closer than you think to the very thing you've been praying about in whispers. Closer than you think to the answer that felt delayed. Closer than you think to the shift that will make the last season make sense. But here's what you must understand. When God brings you to the edge of promise, He will test your posture before He releases the platform. Because posture determines preservation. Some people receive blessings they are not spiritually positioned to sustain, and what should have been a gift becomes a burden. But God loves you too much to hand you something that would harm you. So He checks your heart. Are you still humble when nobody claps? Are you still obedient when it's inconvenient? Are you still faithful when it feels repetitive? Because repetition is often preparation in disguise. Think about Joshua marching around Jericho. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, around the same walls, seeing no cracks, hearing no movement, just steps and silence. But on the 7th day, something shifted. The same obedience, the same march. But suddenly, the walls responded. It wasn't the volume of the shout that brought the walls down. It was the consistency of obedience. You've been walking around what feels like the same situation. Same prayers, same frustrations, same battles. But this next lap, it's different. You don't see it yet, but something in the spirit is aligning. The wall that looked permanent is about to prove temporary. And when it falls, it won't be because of your strength. It will be because of your surrender. Surrender is not weakness. It is trust in motion. Proverbs 3:5 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding." That means there will be moments when what God is doing won't make sense to your logic. It won't match your timeline. It won't align with what others are experiencing. But understanding is not a prerequisite for obedience. Abraham didn't understand how he would become the father of many nations when he had no child. He didn't understand how God would provide a ram on a mountain when he was told to sacrifice his son. But he walked anyway. And every step unlocked provision. Your next level requires that kind of trust, not half-hearted, not conditional, but full surrender. Some of you have been holding on to plan B while praying for plan A, but faith means releasing the backup and believing God is enough, and He is. Philippians 1:6 says, "He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion." Completion. That means your story is not stopping in struggle. It's moving toward fulfillment. You are not a half-finished project. You are under construction with a guaranteed outcome, and the architect does not abandon his design. Right now, the pressure you feel is shaping endurance. The silence you feel is building discernment. The delay you feel is strengthening patience. These are not random traits. They are tools for where you're headed, because where you're going, quick reactions will cost you. Emotional decisions will derail you. Impulsive moves will you. So God slows you down to build discipline. He allows waiting to teach wisdom. He permits stretching to build capacity. Capacity is everything. If you pour 10 gallons of water into a cup, it overflows and wastes what it cannot contain. But if the vessel is expanded, it can hold more without spilling. God has been expanding your capacity through pain, through disappointment, through isolation, not to hurt you, but to prepare you, and now you feel it. That sense that something is about to turn, that quiet anticipation, that spiritual alertness, that's not imagination, that's alignment. When Elijah prayed for rain after years of drought, he sent his servant to check the sky. Nothing again, nothing again, nothing. 7 times he prayed, and on the 7th time, a small cloud appeared, no bigger than a man's hand. Small cloud, massive shift. Don't despise small signs, and heavy rain ends drought. Your drought season is expiring, but you must stay spiritually sensitive, because sometimes breakthrough arrives quietly. It doesn't announce itself with noise, it enters with peace. You'll notice you're no longer triggered by what used to shake you. You'll notice you're no longer desperate for what used to define you. You'll notice you're no longer chasing what God told you to release. That's growth. And growth changes how you receive blessings. You won't idolize the platform. You won't worship the relationship. You won't lose yourself in the opportunity. You'll steward it, because stewardship sustains favor. Luke 16:10 says, "Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much." God watches how you handle small responsibilities, or expanding influence. You've been faithful in small places. Faithful when no one reposted you. Faithful when no one affirmed you. Faithful when the room was empty and the vision felt distant. That kind of faithfulness does not go unnoticed. Heaven records what earth ignores, and when promotion comes, it won't be random. It will be reward for resilience. You are stepping into a season where clarity will silence confusion, where purpose will silence insecurity, where direction will silence doubt. The voice of God in your life is about to become clearer than the voice of fear. But clarity requires closeness, so guard your intimacy with God. Don't let the busyness of anticipation steal the quietness of devotion, because the same God who prepared you in private must remain your anchor in public. Fame without foundation destroys. Favor without humility corrupts. But you've been humbled. You've had prayers that went unanswered in the way you expected. You've had dreams that didn't unfold on your schedule. You've had moments that forced you to surrender pride. That humility is your protection, and protection matters more than popularity. Psalm 23 says, "He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul." Restoration is coming, not just opportunity. Restoration, restoration of confidence, restoration of joy, restoration of peace. You will not enter your next season depleted. You will enter restored. And when you look back, you'll see that what felt like loss was actually pruning. Jesus said in John 15 that every branch that bears fruit, the Father prunes so it can bear more fruit. Pruning hurts. It feels like cutting. It feels like reduction. It feels like something is being taken away. But pruning increases productivity. So if something left your life, don't immediately label it tragedy. It might have been trimming. God removes what competes with your calling, and calling is what's rising now. You feel more focused, more intentional, less tolerant of distractions. That's not isolation. That's elevation preparation. The higher you go, the clearer your vision must be. And the clearer your vision, the fewer voices you can entertain. Not everyone who has access to you now can go where you're headed, and that's okay. Seasons shift, assignments evolve, relationships adjust. But God remains constant. Hebrews 13:8 says, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. When everything around you changes, He remains steady. That steadiness is your anchor. So don't fear the unfamiliar. The unfamiliar is simply evidence that you are growing beyond the old. You ask God for more purpose, more impact, more alignment, and more requires movement. Movement requires courage. Courage requires faith, and faith requires trust in what you cannot yet see. But you don't need to see the full staircase. You just need the next step. And this final step you're in, this stretching, refining, clarifying place, it's not punishment, it's positioning. You are being positioned for something you once prayed about but didn't fully understand. And when it manifests, you will realize that God was not delaying you. He was developing you. He was protecting you from premature exposure. He was strengthening your foundation so that when the weight of blessing rests on your life, it won't crush you. It will crown you. So breathe, release the urgency, release the fear that you're running out of time. God is not bound by clocks. He is bound by covenant. And if He promised it, He will perform it. Your job is not to force the outcome. Your job is to remain faithful in the process. And you have done that, even when your heart was tired, even when your faith felt thin, even when you questioned whether you were really chosen. You kept going. And that is why what's coming next will not bypass you. It will find you ready. It will find you ready because you have been shaped in ways you don't even recognize yet. Every tear that fell in secret, every sigh that nobody heard, every moment you wrestled with fear and chose faith, these have been invisible weights, forging strength in your character, wisdom in your spirit, and resilience in your heart. Romans 5:3-4 tells us, not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance character, and character hope. This is the season where that perseverance becomes your launch pad, where your character becomes your credential, and where hope solidifies into tangible promise. You may have thought you were alone. You may have thought God had forgotten about your story. But the reality is far from that. In the silence, in the solitude, He has been orchestrating every detail, preparing every element for the moment when your next chapter unfolds. Think about the Israelites in the wilderness. They wandered for 40 years. A generation passed without stepping foot into the promised land, but every trial, every test, every season of scarcity was refining a people who could inherit what God had promised. What seems like delay is often divine preparation. Some of you are wondering, why does it feel like nothing is moving? because the most potent preparation is often invisible. Growth, refinement, and alignment happen in ways that the world cannot measure. They happen in prayer closets, in quiet reflection, in obedience when nobody is watching, in persistence when progress seems invisible. Your faithfulness in these areas is producing a readiness that you will need for what comes next. That readiness is not measured by how quickly you reach the goal, but by how fully you have been prepared to handle it when it arrives. I want to talk to you about expectation. Expectation without alignment is dangerous. Expectation without maturity is devastating. Expectation without God's guidance becomes a recipe for disappointment. But when expectation is married to faith, patience, and obedience, it becomes a magnet for miracle. Hebrews 11:1 reminds us, "Now faith is confidence in what we hope for, and assurance about what we do not see." You may not see the full picture yet, but the unseen is just as real as the seen, and it is active, moving, and working in your favor. The person you are becoming in this final step is not the person you were at the start of your journey. That old version of you, the one that feared too much, hoped too little, and doubted frequently, could not have carried the fullness of the blessing that is about to manifest. You had to go through refinement. You had to face rejection, disappointment, and setbacks. You had to be stretched emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. The God who knows what is required for your next level has been pin you into the exact vessel capable of sustaining what is coming. There is an intensity that accompanies the final step before breakthrough. You feel it in your bones, in your heart, and in your spirit. It's the pressure of destiny, the weight of purpose, the tension of the threshold between your past and your future. And it can be unsettling. It can feel heavy. It can feel like too much. But let me tell you something crucial. Pressure is proof. Pressure is proof that you are close. Pressure is proof that what's coming is significant. Diamonds form under pressure. Gold is refined by fire. Olive oil is extracted through crushing. And you, chosen one, are being prepared to shine, to influence, to lead, to bless in ways that will exceed imagination. Now, I know that patience can be the hardest part. Waiting can feel like a punishment, like a loss, like the world is moving forward without you. But God is not late. The Bible in Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, "There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens. There is a time for preparation. There is a season for positioning. There is a moment that has been meticulously orchestrated by the Creator Himself, and it's approaching faster than your mind can calculate, faster than your heart can anticipate, and far more beautiful than your soul can imagine." You must trust this process. You must embrace this season. You must see your current state as sacred, because sacredness is not always loud or obvious. Sacredness often lives in the quiet, in the invisible labor of obedience, in the unseen shaping of your spirit. The Lord is doing a work in you that will impact generations. He is preparing you to influence, to inspire, to intercede, to lead, and to love in ways that extend beyond your personal blessing. Your breakthrough is not just about you. It is about the ripple effect that your faithfulness will create. And that is why the preparation is detailed, intentional, and sometimes painful. It's too important to be rushed. The enemy wants you distracted. He wants you anxious. He wants you impatient. He wants you to doubt, to fear, to settle. But you have been learning a different rhythm, a divine rhythm. You've been learning that progress isn't always visible. You've been learning that blessing doesn't always arrive on your timeline. You've been learning that obedience in obscurity is more valuable than fame in the wrong season. And that learning is what sets you apart. That learning is what guarantees that when the moment comes, you will receive it with the wisdom, the humility, and the grace to steward it well. Some of you have experienced deep disappointment in relationships, in careers, in opportunities you thought were certain. You have felt the sting of doors closing, the ache of plans falling apart, the frustration of being overlooked. But those experiences were never setbacks. They were setups to build discernment, to teach perseverance, to align your heart with God's purpose. Proverbs 4:7 says, "The beginning of wisdom is this, get wisdom. Though it cost all you have, get understanding. Every trial you endured, every tear you shed, every moment of confusion has been the cost of understanding, the spiritual wisdom you need to carry your destiny without breaking." Do you understand that your pain has been productive, that your struggle has been strategic? See that your waiting has been a sacred investment in your future. This is the moment where the seeds sown in tears begin to sprout in visible, undeniable blessings. You will look back and realize that what you thought was suffering was actually the soil where your breakthrough was planted. And when it begins to manifest, you will be astounded, not just because of what arrives, but because of who you have become to receive it. I want you to hear this. You are not ordinary. You were not created for mediocrity. You were not designed to blend in with the crowd. You are chosen, set apart, anointed. And the final step you are walking through right now is the threshold between preparation and manifestation. It's the crucible that purifies you, the refining fire that strengthens you, and the space where your faith will transform into fruit. John 15:16 reminds us, "You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you so that you might go and bear fruit, fruit that will last." Chosen one, fruit that lasts requires pruning. It requires patience. It requires humility. It requires alignment with God's voice. And you've been learning that. That's why even when it hurts, even when it seems slow, even when it feels unfair, you continue to stand, you continue to persevere. You continue to trust. That trust is not passive, it is active. It is faith in motion. It is the invisible labor of the Spirit that produces visible results. The next thing God is about to do will surpass every expectation you've ever held. It will arrive in ways that defy human logic, that stretch your imagination, that expand your influence, and that deepen your purpose. It may come as a whisper. It may come as a door opening you didn't anticipate. It may come as a relationship, a career breakthrough, or a spiritual alignment that reshapes the trajectory of your life. But it will be unmistakable. Because when God moves, He does so with precision, purpose, and power. You may still feel fear. You may still feel doubt. That is human. But do not let fear dictate your steps. Do not let doubt derail your destiny. You have survived far too much to fall at the final hurdle. You have endured long enough to witness the manifestation of God's promise. And when it arrives, it will validate every tear, every struggle, every moment of obedience. You must now rise to meet it in readiness. This is the season of preparation converging with opportunity. This is the season of hidden work finally producing visible fruit. This is the season where your faith, tested and tried, transforms into your testimony. Your breakthrough is not coming because you begged or fought or manipulated. It is coming back because you were faithful when no one else was watching, because you endured when the world said you should quit, because you continued to trust when hope seemed distant. This is the final step, chosen one. The step that will define the beginning of your next chapter. And it requires courage, humility, patience, and unwavering trust. The next moment, the next opportunity, the next divine alignment is not just around the corner, it is imminent. And when it appears, you will be ready, not by chance, not by human effort, but by the invisible, relentless, divine hand of God that has been guiding, shaping, and preparing you all along. You cannot see the full picture yet. You cannot anticipate every detail, but that is the beauty of God's orchestration. You are standing on holy ground, at the edge of breakthrough, and every step you take now in faith brings you closer to a reality that will far exceed the pain of the past, the doubts of the present, and the limitations of the world's imagination. You are about to witness the manifestation of promises that were spoken over you before you were even born. And when it happens, your life will never be the same. You've made it this far. You've endured. You've persisted, you've trusted, and all of it has been necessary for the glory, the alignment, and the favor that is about to be revealed. The final step is not the end. It is the beginning of your next extraordinary season. Your obedience has set it in motion. Your faith has paved the way, and your perseverance has made you ready to receive it in fullness. Do you feel it? That stirring in your spirit, that sense that everything is about to shift. That is confirmation that God is moving. That is the edge of elevation. That is the moment when the invisible work of your faith transforms into visible, undeniable manifestation. Your season of waiting is concluding, chosen one, and your season of breakthrough is about to begin. You've been prepared. You've been purified. You've been positioned. And what is coming next is far greater than what you have imagined. The final step is here. And when you take it, you will step into a new reality where your prayers, your perseverance, and your faithfulness converge to produce a life filled with purpose, destiny, and divine favor beyond measure. You're standing on sacred ground, chosen one. I need you to hear this with the fullness of your heart. This is the point where heaven begins to intersect with your life in ways that will feel both terrifying and exhilarating at the same time. It will challenge you. It will stretch you. It will demand more of you than the previous seasons did. But it will also confirm everything you have endured. The struggles, the delays, the sleepless nights, they all converge to produce a moment that is uniquely yours. God never moves without purpose. And the next thing about to happen in your life is the culmination of divine design. Some of you have been wondering why you feel so restless, why your spirit is impatient, why your heart can't settle. That restlessness is a holy signal. It's God nudging you, telling you that the old is falling away and the new is coming. That discomfort you feel is not punishment, it's preparation. The pain, the uncertainty, the moments when you thought you couldn't go on, they've all been stretching you to carry the weight of what's coming next. You see, the final step is never easy. It's never casual. It's never comfortable. It's meant to challenge every area of your life, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, even physically. The final step tests your endurance. It tests your faith. It tests your loyalty to God, even when human logic tells you that the moment has passed. It tests whether you will hold on to hope when everything in your life seems to contradict it. Remember Daniel in the lion's den. He wasn't spared the danger. He didn't escape the testing. He was placed directly in the path of threat. But because his faith was anchored, because he stood firm in his identity as God's chosen, he survived unscathed. And not only did he survive, but his deliverance became a testimony for generations. Your final step is preparing you for your testimony. Your breakthrough will not only change your life, it will inspire others to trust God, even in the moments that seem impossible. I know some of you have been walking through seasons where every day felt like a battle. You felt alone. You felt overlooked. You felt like your prayers were evaporating into thin air. But I'm here to tell you that God has been listening. Psalm 34:17-18 says, "The righteous cry out, and the Lord hears them. He delivers them from all their troubles. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." That means your cry has not been ignored. Your tears have been recorded. Your suffering has not been meaningless. Heaven has been leaning in, working quietly, orchestrating the exact moment when your life will change. You are being positioned for a divine appointment that will surpass anything your human mind can plan. Your breakthrough will be bigger than the circumstances you endured. It will arrive in a way that will leave no doubt that God was orchestrating it all along. But here's the catch. It requires faith to receive it. Not blind faith, not half-hearted faith, but a faith that has been tried and tested, a faith that refuses to retreat, a faith that knows God is faithful even when everything else feels unstable. Think about the Israelites at the Red Sea. Pharaoh's army was behind them, water in front, and fear all around. Every logical human instinct would have said to turn back, to surrender, to give up. But Moses stood on faith, and the impossible became the pathway to their destiny. The waters parted, not because of human effort, but because of faith in divine promise. Your current situation is your Red Sea moment. The obstacles in front of you may look insurmountable. The pressure around you may feel suffocating. But when you step in faith, when you trust God's timing, the way will open. You are being trained for greatness, and greatness requires more than talent. It requires endurance. It requires character. It requires integrity. It requires a heart that refuses to compromise. It requires someone who has walked through fire and remained unconsumed. The final step is refining all of these qualities in you. It's stripping away what doesn't belong, purging hat would weigh you down, and shaping you into a vessel capable of containing the fullness of what God intends for your life. Do not fear the unknown. Do not fear the stretching. Do not fear the release of what no longer serves you. Fear is the enemy's tool to make you shrink, to make you doubt, to make you settle for less. But faith sees beyond fear. Faith leans into the unseen. Faith trusts in the invisible hand that has been guiding every detail. Isaiah 5:17 says, "No weapon forged against you will prevail, and you will refute every tongue that accuses you." That includes the weapon of doubt, fear, and impatience. Nothing that rises against you can withstand God's plan for you. Your breakthrough will arrive like a tidal wave, unstoppable, undeniable, and overwhelming in its goodness. But before it arrives, you must remain faithful in your current season. Do not despise small victories. Do not underestimate quiet growth. Do not dismiss incremental progress. Every act of obedience, every prayer prayed in secret, every moment of endurance is building the platform for your manifestation. God's timing is perfect, and the final step is the apex, where preparation meets opportunity. Some of you have been walking through seasons of hidden labor, unseen tears, and unrecognized effort. You have given your best without applause, sacrificed without acknowledgement, and remained loyal when loyalty was not reciprocated. Let me tell you something. God notices, He records, He rewards. Revelation 3:5 says, "The one who is victorious will, like them, be dressed in white." I will never blot out the name of that person from the book of life. Victory is already written for you, chosen on. Your perseverance is ensuring that it is yours to claim. You are not being delayed because you are not worthy. You are not being ignored because God has forgotten you. You are being refined because God is perfecting you. You are being stretched because your future requires endurance. You are being prepared because your next chapter demands maturity, wisdom, and resilience. And when it arrives, it will be more beautiful, more powerful, more transformative than you ever imagined. Let me remind you that every breakthrough comes after a season of trial. Joseph was rejected, enslaved, falsely accused, and imprisoned. Esther risked her life to step into her divine purpose. David faced Goliath as a young shepherd after years of obscurity, and Jesus himself was tested in the wilderness before beginning his public ministry. The pattern is consistent. Preparation precedes manifestation. The final step you are walking through is your preparation. The breakthrough is your manifestation. Now is not the time to doubt. Now is not the time to retreat. Now is not the time to compromise. Now is the time to stand firm, to trust, to persist, to pray, to worship, and to remain aligned with God's voice. Psalm 37:5 says, "Commit your way to the Lord. Trust in Him and He will do this. Commitment, trust, faithfulness. These are the keys to unlocking what is coming next. You may still feel fear. You may still feel uncertainty. That is human. But chosen one, let me remind you, fear is temporary. Faith is eternal. Doubt is fleeting. Hope endures. And what God is bringing into your life will endure far beyond the fleeting discomforts of this season. Your final step is sacred. It is holy. It is divine. It is the threshold between preparation and promise. And when you step across it, your life will be forever changed. You will walk with authority. You will speak with wisdom. You will influence with purpose. You will love without reservation. And every person who has been a part of your journey, both the supportive and the challenging, will see the fingerprints of God in your life. Do not rush. Do not resist. Do not doubt. Stand firm. Pray without ceasing. Continue in faith. Continue in obedience. Continue in trust. Because your breakthrough is not only coming, it is imminent, unstoppable, and divinely orchestrated. You have made it this far. You have endured. You have persisted. You have stayed faithful when the world said you should quit. And all of it has been leading to this moment. This is the final step. This is the apex of your preparation. This is the intersection of promise and reality. And when you walk into it, you will finally understand that every tear, every prayer, every season of waiting, every moment of doubt, every ounce of perseverance was worth it. Your next chapter is more than a continuation. It is a transformation. It is a miracle. It is a shift in every area of your life, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and physically. Your final step will carry you into a reality that validates your faith, honors your endurance, and fulfills your destiny in ways that exceed imagination. And now, chosen one, hear this. Every tear you shed, every night you wrestled in prayer, every moment you felt overlooked or delayed, all of it has been crafting you for this very moment. The final step you have been walking through is not an end, but a divine bridge to a destiny that surpasses your imagination. God has been orchestrating every detail, aligning every encounter, opening doors unseen and placing people, opportunities, and blessings perfectly along your path. You have been prepared to receive, to steward, and to thrive in ways that honor His name and fulfill the purpose for which you were created. Do not fear the unknown. Do not shrink back from the breakthrough that awaits. Stand firm in your faith, continue in your obedience, and walk boldly into the season God has prepared. The waiting, the struggle, the refining, all of it has been for this moment. The moment when your perseverance becomes your testimony, your faith becomes your favor, and your obedience becomes your reward. Chosen one, lift your eyes, strengthen your spirit, and embrace this next step with confidence, courage, and hope. What's coming is greater than the trials you endured, stronger than the doubts you faced, and more beautiful than anything you have ever imagined. God's hand is upon you, His favor surrounds you, and His promise will not fail. Step forward into the fullness of your destiny, for your breakthrough is here, your season has arrived, and your life will never be the same. This is your moment. This is your time. Walk in it.